So I'd like just to welcome everybody here this evening. It's great to have you all here. Big Irish contingent this evening. And I especially want to welcome Sejual here this evening. And I'm delighted to introduce Sejual Shah to you. Sejual has her website is called Healthy in Mind. And she has been one of my mentors over the last number of years. And what I really value is her quiet, simple yet profound wisdom. So I'm really excited for her to share that with you here this evening. And Sejual is one of the UK's leading and international EFT practitioners and has been working EFT full-time since 2006. So I really feel that, Sejual, that you're definitely one of the pioneers, and Orla has just put up Sejual's website there, the link to Sejual's website there for anybody who would like to have a look. And Sejual is also a trainer of trainers. So for people who want to do training, Sejual is one of the people that you would go to be trained. One of the trainers with EFT International, and EFT International is the largest body internationally that accredits EFT training. So it's part of the organization that I'm with. And I suppose what I really like is the ethos of the organization. And I know Sejual is very passionate about that as well, as she's joined the board of trustees and she's kind of steering the board, or helping to steer the organization in the direction in its next phase of growth. And Sejual has also appeared as part of the Tapping World Summit. So what I said kind of in the description is that for me, Sejual is the epitome of being heart-centered, because for me, she's somebody who really is she lives life in a very authentic way and is very, very heart-centered in everything that she does. And as she says herself, it's not in her nature to project on a loudspeaker. She says, brilliance shines all the more for being bookended by quiet. And I love that because, we've lots of very shouty people. And actually, sometimes it's the quieter people, not necessarily the extroverts, it's the introverts, sometimes who have a lot more interesting stuff to say. So I love that. It's the brilliance shines all the more for being bookended by quiet. And I think I remember one of the first times I went to Sejual for mentoring, and I had a particularly thorny issue. And I said, I need to do this, and I should be doing this. And just very simply, Sejual said, well, are you going to feel better or worse if you do that? And I went, oh my God, a lot worse. And that was the answer, and that was all I needed to hear. So just a very, very simple question. And then from then on, I was sold. Because it's just so obvious, and it wasn't a big shouty thing. It was just very, very quiet. And so this evening we're going to be talking a little bit about New Year's resolutions, and and all the pressure that comes with that, and and maybe looking at a slightly different approach. And what I'd like you all to do is, if you have any comments that you want to leave it in the chat box as we're chatting, we can just glance at whatever it is you're saying, and maybe incorporate it into some of the tapping that we're doing. So welcome everybody, and welcome to Sejual here at Sea.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
You're welcome, very well deserved. And so we were having a chat the other day about the end of the year, and maybe just going to talk a little bit about that, because I think it is nice. I mean, I was thinking, gosh, now, what if all the time ran into each other? Would that be a nice thing? And I thought to myself, well, actually, no, I don't think I would like that. I do like the fact of the end of a year and the beginning of a new year. There's something comforting about that. That's not all just one big blob of time. I don't know, that's not a very useful word, but it's just not just one big block of time. So there is something like that, something ending and a new thing beginning. But then there comes an awful lot of pressure, doesn't there, with the new year?
I think we get to a point come December where, for all kinds of reasons, we may be tired. Even if we've achieved a lot, there's a sense of, I need a rest, and we get that typically over the holiday period. But also there's a sense of, what didn't I achieve? And it's in our nature, it's in our society to have a critical eye to what didn't go so well. It's something I've found myself really shifting over time, that So I come from a very critical family, very aware of all the flaws of whatever they want to focus on. And it becomes a whole way of being to just look for the bad. So we come to the end of the year and there may be a list of achievements, but equally there's a list of the things I've missed out on, the things I messed up on. And that's a heavy burden to be carrying. So mentally, psychologically, do we get to just leave that at the door frame of the end of the year and go, that's last year's baggage, let's see if I can move on? I had a client who may be listening to this as a recording, and she said to me by email, she had an accident and sprained her ankle on Christmas Day, and she's saying, I've decided I'm leaving all the bad stuff at the end of into last year so I can start this year with good. And that's part of this energy, isn't it? That there are things we're aware that weren't good, and it's a relief, it's a sigh of an out breath of thank goodness I can let that down.
Yes, yes. And I can very much relate to that, because I had a particularly tough year. We had a couple of significant deaths and, just getting over one, and then the next one happened, and then getting over that, and then the next one happened. Sorry, not that you get over it in 8 weeks, but you're catching your breath again. So I can understand that kind of sense, like, oh my God, just thank God that's over. That year is over, and it's not that the emotion doesn't carry forward, but there is a sense of a new beginning.
Indeed. And that new beginning, it feels like it's a clean slate. It feels like I can try to do something different and better. So we come into January with a lot more energy, hopefully after some kind of a rest over the holiday period. We will have been active with family, socializing and so on, but it's a different pace, it's a different energy. And then January, and I know I've bounded into January with masses of energy. I ended last year, it's rare that I'm ill, and I had a virus in December that took a lot out of me. But I recovered enough and had a good rest over the holidays. So come back into January and I'm roaring with energy, which is fantastic. But how do I frame that? How do I sustain it? Because you can get these new starts of the year where it's 0 to 100 and you can bounce along for a few weeks, maybe a few months, but then what happens if you start to run out of steam? And there's a whole energy piece there.
Yes, yes, yeah. And the pressure then, as you were talking about, the pressure that I have to, and people ask you, what's your New Year's resolution? It's like me, I mean, I'm born a Catholic, like, what are you giving up for Lent? And I say, nothing, and people are shocked by that, but it's like, what's your New Year's resolution? Nothing, you know what I mean? But, and I know I was, if somebody was asking, like, what's your New Year's resolution and, and your goals, whatever. And instead of making me feel energized, it actually made me feel exhausted. And I didn't feel like it was adding to my energy. It felt like it was draining my energy and pulling my energy away.
Completely hear you. There's something that I've been thinking about, and this is going to this is going to perhaps speak to those who are of this outlook. So I want to be clear, it's a belief that I'm sharing. And it's just one that I've fostered. It's one that serves me. So, and this is from an energy perspective. So hopefully if you're listening to this, you're already on that wavelength, already thinking along those lines. So we come from a place of doing, achieving. It's so much into our school life, into our journey from academic life into being in some kind of career, some job, something that's worthwhile. And all of those are very action-driven steps. I come from that background. So I come from a family that very much encouraged me to achieve, and I did. I was a high achiever academically. I have more scholarships to my name than I can remember. They were of a high worth. So the one that I can remember that one of the highest was £10,000, which at the time was a staggering sum for me. And then there were other scholarships to travel and learn abroad and so on. So a very strong academic performance, but that came about through doing and action. And there was a price I paid, that there was so much emptiness inside that you can keep performing like a clapping monkey, but where is the heart in that? So back to being heart-centered. And actually it ends up feeling like you climb one mountain, you achieve the summit, but then you look over and you go, well, look, there's a whole range, and I just have to tighten my belt, gird my loins, and keep climbing. There was never really a sense of, let's just enjoy the view for a while. So that's one way of doing to achieve. And I'm being very clear, it's not wrong. I have done that and I achieved a lot. And then there's another way, which is more a way that I'm of the view now that works for me. Gráinne, you and I, we speak about it regularly. And it's actually about being true to oneself, being true to the way your heart sings. Now, this is seemingly contrary in a very fast-moving, high-achieving world. The funny thing is, when I'm true to me, there are all these gifts that come to me. So if I was to phrase it in a very simplistic way, it's almost like there's an active way of doing, being out in the world, which a majority would say is the way to be. And then there's a seemingly passive, but one where your heart is enabled to express its joy. And all I know is, and this has been true for more than 10 years, when I really nurture that, the most profound gifts come my way, things I could not manufacture. So, and that has been very much the way I've moved and oriented myself, even with New Year's resolutions or words for the year, which is kind of my own approach. And it's a much kinder, gentler life than the one I used to have, which was filled with a fair amount of strain, if I'm honest.
Yes, yeah, that's beautiful, Sejual. And I think just kind of bring yourself back into your heart center. And one thing you were talking about was the energy of the heart, and how strong that is as a force, as a life force.
So there's something called the Heart Math Institute in the US, and it is a company, and they've done a huge amount of research into the power and impact of the heart. So we can create New Year's resolutions from a head place, which has a good logical place, not going to knock logic. It's a clear part of the way I operate. In the research they've done, and this is just a simple segment of their research, they do a lot more. The electromagnetic reach of the heart is 8 times more powerful than that of the head. So we can get engrossed in creating a perfect way of being resolute in our intentions. Have a I am statement, I have achieved X goal. But then is that actually speaking to the heart, which is the driving force? And then if we're doing and thinking something that makes our heart contract, actually, are we diminishing our power?
Yes. Yeah.
That, I mean, I think of some of the things I felt obliged to do, and I wouldn't now, just in professional life. I had a previous career as a lawyer, as a barrister, and I would not set about doing some of those things now because they literally have a constricting effect on my heart. So we talk about from a physical health perspective, where your heart has a good heart coherence, you're then influencing the endocrine system, your immune system, you're supporting your digestion, all the things you want for a healthy life. If you're doing and saying things that are shutting down your heart, you're having a physical impact.
Yes.
And also you're limiting the reach of your energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage whatever new starts we're doing, how can we actually allow the heart to expand?
And that's pretty amazing. When you talk about like your energy and how much it's eight times stronger, the reach, that is quite profound actually, because that just shows the wisdom of moving more down into our heart space.
But it's all those things that we look back over our shoulder and we go, well, I didn't do that last year.
Yes, yeah. And I'm wondering, would that be a nice place to start? Because I think there may be a lot of people here beating themselves. Oh, I didn't do this last year. And I'd love to hear if there are emotions coming up for people when they think about last year, maybe because it didn't go as well as they thought it had. And I'd love if people might put some stuff into the chat box of, if there are any kind of lingering emotions. Because what we'd like to do is maybe to start to do a little bit of tapping for clearing the emotion for last year, so that we are starting off with a new slate, and then we can maybe do something about approaching it in a different way. So yes, we'd just love to get some feedback, maybe disappointment. Does that resonate with people? Or maybe a bit of shame or guilt, sadness? Any of these words resonating with people about maybe what they didn't, maybe they thought, oh, actually, now this is the year. This is the year that I'm going to whatever. Just wonder if people have any thoughts on that. And so if you just want to put something into the chat box there, if you have any thoughts, and if not, that's okay. Maybe what we could do is maybe we'll just start having procrastination. Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at the messages there. Let's see, I don't know if you can see the messages there.
I can see them, yes.
Procrastination. I have challenged all last year to give myself permission to be not busy. Okay. Procrastination. Okay. So when we start maybe do a little bit of a tapping to clear last year, and maybe Sejual, I'll start this, whatever, and then you can kind of hop in, you can be my mirror.
Love that.
Yeah, so making excuses and not doing. Okay, so that's a lot of people beating themselves quite hard here. Okay. Okay, so even though, when I think about last year,
when I think about last year,
I think of all the procrastination I did.
and I think of all the procrastination I did.
Maybe I feel I wasted time.
Maybe I feel like I wasted time.
And I made excuses.
And I made excuses.
I was not doing.
I was not doing.
And I've been really challenged.
And I've been really challenged.
To give myself permission.
To give myself permission.
To not be busy.
To not be busy.
I'll use Sejual's phrase here. And I soothe and comfort myself.
And I soothe and comfort myself.
That's when I robbed from Sejual. Okay. Even though.
When
I think of last year. I have this sense of disappointment.
I have this sense of disappointment.
I thought this was going to be my year.
I thought this was going to be my year.
This was the year when I was going to do everything.
This was the year I was going to do everything.
I was going to achieve everything.
I was going to achieve everything.
And there's a bit of shame attached to this now.
And there is a bit of shame attached to this now.
Because I didn't get quite to where I wanted to be.
Because I didn't get quite where I wanted to be.
And I soothe and comfort myself.
And I soothe and comfort myself.
Even though. Part of me feels guilty.
Part of me feels guilty.
For not doing things.
For not doing things.
For this procrastination. And I'm wondering what that procrastination was about.
And I'm wondering, what was that procrastination about?
I'm wondering, was it coming from a place of fear?
I'm wondering, was it coming from a place of fear?
Misguided self-love.
Misguided self-love.
Trying to protect me from making a mistake.
trying to protect me from making a mistake
or being disappointed.
or being disappointed.
And I soothe and comfort myself.
And I soothe and comfort myself.
Last year, I'm feeling disappointed.
I'm feeling disappointed.
Didn't quite go the way I thought it would.
It didn't quite go the way I thought it would.
I didn't achieve what I thought I might achieve.
I didn't achieve what I thought I might achieve.
And I'm disappointed in myself.
And I am disappointed in myself.
I'm feeling a bit of shame.
I'm feeling a bit of shame.
Why didn't I do it?
Why didn't I do it?
Why did I procrastinate so much?
Why did I procrastinate so much?
What was going on?
What was going on?
What was the fear that I was feeling?
What was the fear that I was feeling?
And I'm disappointed with myself.
And I'm disappointed with myself.
I'm feeling some shame.
I'm feeling some shame.
I feel I should have done better.
I feel I should have done better.
I should have joined and done more.
I should have joined and done more.
And I'm disappointed with myself.
And I'm disappointed with myself.
Feeling guilty.
Feeling guilty.
And I'm also feeling some sadness.
And I'm also feeling some sadness.
Sadness for the year.
Sadness for the year.
And I'm just giving myself some kind space.
And I'm just giving myself some kind space.
To allow myself to feel these feelings.
To allow myself to feel these feelings.
For all that 2023 wasn't.
For all that 2023 wasn't.
I'm giving myself some space to feel these emotions.
I'm giving myself some space to feel these emotions.
All this disappointment.
All this disappointment.
And sadness.
And sadness.
Take a big deep breath in. And out. Okay, so I'd just like to check in with people and say, Sejual, how are you feeling after that? Did any of that, how did that feel? I don't imagine you have any of that, but any thoughts on that?
It's interesting. The one thing that I was wondering was, is there any anxiety anywhere in the mix, in the group? Because we talk about these things that we haven't done, but there's also, and definitely the shame, guilt, worry were very appropriate, but then there can also be this, am I going to repeat it again?
Yes.
And that's
yes.
something we don't necessarily want to own at the start of the year, but I want to just name it in case it is relevant for anyone.
Yeah, yeah. Just want to use anybody, any other thoughts on that, or how did that ring a bell or resonate with anybody? And is anybody feeling anxiety about going into this year and about repeating the same mistakes? I just wonder, is that resonating with people? Okay. So maybe not so much. Oh yes, resonates, yeah. Disappointed not completing my studies, thank you. But excited to move forward and complete it by June. Yes. And anxiety, yeah. Anxiety around repeating, thank you, yeah. Resonates, okay. And so maybe we'll do a quick round on the anxiety of, yeah, not wanting to repeat the same mistakes. Okay. Would you like to lead that, Sejual?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay, so even
though
I've peered inside,
I peered inside
and I noticed this here,
and I notice this here,
I'm going to be so kind and gentle with myself.
I'm going to be so kind and gentle with myself.
As I soothe and comfort myself.
As I soothe and comfort myself.
Even though I do try to be brave and strong.
Even though I do try to be brave and strong.
But some of what I experienced last year.
But some of what I experienced last year.
Has left its mark on me.
Has left its mark on me.
And I just want to give myself space.
And I just want to give myself space.
To be safely held.
To be safely held.
As I allow this to come out with ease.
As I allow this to come out with ease,
I soothe and comfort myself.
I soothe and comfort myself.
Even though there is anxiety here.
Even though there is anxiety here.
And it's kind of a relief to hear other people naming it.
And it's kind of a relief to hear other people naming it.
I'm not the only one, it seems.
I'm not the only one, it seems.
And that just gives me a bit of reassurance.
And that just gives me a bit of reassurance.
As I soothe and comfort myself.
As I soothe and comfort myself.
Yes, there is some anxiety.
Yes, there is some anxiety.
And it's okay to have that.
And it's okay to have that.
I've been through some difficult times last year.
I've been through some difficult times last year.
And whilst I have made it through.
And whilst I have made it through.
I'm just carrying some feelings about it.
I'm just carrying some feelings about it.
And whilst I do normally manage okay.
And whilst I do normally manage okay.
In this kind, safe space.
In this kind, safe space.
I just want to own that this is how I'm feeling.
I just want to own that this is how I'm feeling.
And I'm just making, sorry, I always include the point under the chest, under the bust, but you can move on.
So that's, yeah.
Move on to the hands if you prefer. And I'm just allowing this to come out.
And I'm just allowing this to come out.
In a safe, kind way.
In a safe, kind way.
I don't have to name anything specific.
I don't have to name anything specific.
Just by being present with what has been said.
Just by being present with what has been said.
I can allow this to lessen.
I can allow this to lessen.
So that it's easier to be with.
So that it's easier to be with.
And it's not that I'm making excuses.
And it's not that I'm making excuses.
It's just I'm treating myself with kindness.
It's just that I'm treating myself with kindness.
Because it turns out.
Because it turns out.
Others have a similar feeling at times.
Others have a similar feeling at times.
And we're all just really human.
And we're all just really human.
We have our times of strength.
We have our times of strength.
We have our times of vulnerability.
We have our times of vulnerability.
And in this kind, safe space.
And in this kind, safe space.
It's okay to name this feeling.
It's okay to name this feeling.
And allow it to lessen.
And allow it to lessen.
And see how my system relaxes.
And see how my system relaxes.
And just let myself breathe a little better.
And just let myself breathe a little better. Breath in. Out. That was really lovely, Sejual, and very comforting and gentle and soothing. Yeah, really, really soothing. And I think that's spot on, you know, the anxiety about repeating and saying. So it feels a lot softer and it feels a lot easier. It feels a lot easier now. So yeah, beautiful, thank you.
Good. As we've been talking, I was just listening to the group energy. And that was kind of what kept showing up in my mind. So that's why I wondered out loud and said those things before we did that round.
Lovely. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'd love to hear how people got on with that round. And so is there anything else you feel or you're picking up that we should tap on? You know, we have an exercise to do, but is there anything else that you feel would be important to tap on at this point?
I'm just along with you reading what's in the chat.
Okay. That chose at the end last year followed me. Yeah. Yawning, that's good. Always good to have yawning.
Yawning's always very good. I find yawning is often a release of something deeper that we've had to sort of push down using the diaphragm. So we often use our stomach muscles to contain,
yes,
or diaphragm to push down, and then yawning is this kind of release. So good. Lots of soothing responses, deep sighing and yawning. That's really, really good to hear. I'm really pleased. I had someone say to me recently about my voice, I should do ASMR on YouTube. And it's
Is that the whispering one, is it?
I don't know what it is. I haven't looked, I just have seen the odd thing where people do soothing sounds in order to.
Oh, very good. Yeah, that would be lovely.
I'm not sure that's where I want to go, but it was said more as a tongue in cheek. But
Yeah.
I'm glad the words spoken were perfect. So glad to hear that. You asked me a question before of anything to remind me
Hope
what
you
you.
felt if you're tuning into the energy, there was anything that you felt needed to be expressed or tapped on at this stage.
Not tapped on. What I would invite those who have felt and responded to that last round is as an act of kindness to, and I think the people here do know they've done training with you in EFT, so they know how to tap, is actually to make time to look and do the EFT they know, use the movie technique on some of the key things from last year. That would be a real deep clearing. What we've done with that last round is actually just softened it, made it more accessible. That was my intent with that. So hopefully, and I'm all about empowering individuals, because you and I, as trainers, we empower those who learn from us to help themselves as much as they can. And we're here as a resource when they want further guidance. And part of empowerment is feeling, well, actually, I can look at those 3 events from last year, and I'm going to set half an hour aside to tap on one of those, see how far I get.
Yeah.
That is the act of kindness I really would encourage.
Yes, yeah. And actually making the time for ourselves, because often, and not everybody here will be a practitioner, but very often, even people who aren't involved in the EAT world, they're so busy looking after everybody else that they don't actually take the time to soothe through EFT or whatever modality they are comfortable with if they're not EFT practitioners, but just to have a bit of reflection and some way of clearing it and getting it up and out of the body. So, Sejal, could we maybe move on? I mean, and just talk about, your approach to not New Year's resolutions, shall we say? And what would your approach be?
So I've been doing this practice now for more than 10 years. I first started in 2011. And it's to pick a single word that I then use as a guiding light for the whole year. Most resolutions are, I have achieved X, I will do this, I'll stop smoking, I will go for a run every day, I will have 8 hours sleep a night. They are very action oriented. And if you remember what I said earlier, action has its place, and it's not that I stop doing, but when that is the guiding light, action is, we become doing machines. Last time I checked, I'm a human being. So I choose words that really embrace the nature of my being, how I want to grow. And what I found, this is a bit of an ironic story, I suppose. So I've told you already that I come from a high achieving background and endlessly doing. I mean, if you were found sitting at home, your hands would be put to work. You know, women in my home life, my dad would sit, he would get to sit in front of the TV. The rest of us would be doing in the kitchen. So yeah, that led to fantastic home cooking and a great time, but your hands were always busy.
Yeah.
Preparing in a very detailed way. completely cooking from scratch and doing lots of other things. So idle hands were not allowed. But that creates a whole mindset of constantly wearily doing. So having come from that background and seemingly achieved a lot, I had to wean myself off it. And one of the things I noticed was that the belief I grew up with was that if it is not hard work, it is not valued.
Yes.
And that's kind of heartbreaking, because there I'd achieved seemingly glowing outcomes in all stages of school life and then work life. I was at the top of my game, but the emptiness there was horrible. And you get the certificate on the wall, you get the ceremony to say you've graduated or achieved some status, but where's the heart in that? There's no connection there. So that first year, I did something which for me was completely radical. I was sick and tired of constantly pushing myself. So a bit like Sisyphus, constantly pushing that boulder up the hill. And you get to the hill, but the boulder runs back down. And you think, well, I've just got to do more to get up the next hill, even if I've climbed that first hill. And I went, okay, I'm tired of this being hard work. I'm not enjoying this. How can I bring ease into my life? So I had that as this guiding light. So think of when you go out in the dark, say you take a torch or an old style lantern. Anyone here who has done any Reiki, the highest level, the master level, the symbol for that is torchbearer in daylight. And you think, well, why does anyone need light in daylight? But that's you really sticking your holding your flag up and saying, I'm really speaking to the light. So for me, ease was this radical U-turn of constantly going for the hardest option and going, actually, how can I have ease? That was the year I got married. And so planning our wedding, we did it, just my husband and I, we just did it ourselves. And it was breathtakingly magical, because every step of the way, there would be things to do, but things fell into place in ways that were completely magical. So, for example, I hadn't found a cake maker, and we tried different things, and they were either too dry or unpleasant, whatever. And then I was in my local grocer's, my supermarket, and someone I knew through a networking group found me, and she said, we were chatting, and like within 90 seconds, she said, there's this cake maker you really need to see. And she didn't know I hadn't found a cake maker. We went and tried her cupcakes. They were amazingly good. Not only did they look sumptuous, and she could do the sort of a variety for some of our guests that was vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, just the whole package.
Brilliant. I love that. Yeah.
And then another thing on that same journey, so a few days before the wedding, I hadn't realized my outfit didn't come with a headdress. There was an Indian outfit, and I didn't know what on earth I was going to do. And in the shop, they had something that a previous customer had ordered but didn't want, that matched perfectly color-wise. I mean, I couldn't make it any better. So this mindset of ease, it paved the way. And then people often say the day they get married, it goes in a blur. Because I cultivated this mindset of ease, my goodness, I savored every moment. I still remember it because it's such a beautiful day, and it didn't flash by. I got to enjoy everything. So this is the gift of ease.
Yes. Yeah.
And there were challenges. I mean, there was at one point we couldn't find a wedding priest, a Hindu priest. And we figured out that my husband is white, I'm of Indian background. The ones we had asked and we thought was reliable, he was not comfortable doing a mixed marriage. And we didn't know what on earth we were going to do. And all I did was I tapped, I dealt with my fears, my anxieties, and then I let go. And we had the most amazing priest come out of nowhere on referral. And you could sense the divine in him, just such a wonderful human being who managed to bring together people of all different faiths and outlooks. It wasn't prescriptive. He engaged them, he involved them in the ceremony, and the look of joy in people's faces in the photos. That, and the real sense of rapture and engagement, that's what I wanted, a sense of community on my special day, not just us being the centre, but people involved. So this was the gift of ease, and it paid off work-wise as well.
Yeah, yeah. And that's such a lovely word, ease. And I think it's something that we could all take in more, is actually to have more, how can I have more ease in my life? And you've had different words, and sorry, ease is something that you carried forward since then, but you've had different words for each year. And how have you, or how could people come up with a word? Do you have any suggestions of how somebody might do that?
It's a good question. So I've always looked at, how do I want to grow as a person? And this again goes into belief. One might say, well, if I have more of a doing word, won't I achieve more? So a word such as clarity, that takes us back to the head. And that will be something that will improve your thinking. If that's something you need, great. But does the heart want more clarity, is what I'd ask. So my suggestion would be, always bring it back to, what does your heart want? And I'd actually take it to a sensory perspective. So look at different feeling state words. My current word for this year is flow. I just want to feel in the flow. I've had other words such as have, because I was so glass half full. And I just wanted to start appreciating what I have. Appreciation is another, if that generates a good feeling. So think of it not through the lens of action, of how can I do more, or what can I do, but, and here's the sensory element, take whatever word you're thinking about, take it to your heart, and then this will depend on whether you're a kinesthetic person. So if you are, how does it feel? Does your heart start to open and feel more expansive with that? If you are more auditory, does it make my heart sing? How does the word sound to my being? Do I feel kind of uplifted by the sound and the saying out loud, hearing my say that word? If you're more visual, how do I see myself with that word? How do I view myself? Look at yourself in the mirror with that word in mind, in heart. Do you stand up taller, straighter? Do you feel more relaxed? Do you feel happier? Those are indicators when you're trying out words.
I'm just wondering if anybody has any thoughts on any words that might be nice for them. And maybe just to take a moment, just to pause and maybe kind of place your hands on your heart and just to see, and just maybe pausing and taking a few breaths and just seeing, and maybe some of the words that Sejual has already said, it would be something like just Sejual said, and he said, oh, actually, do you know, that really resonates with me. I think for me, I like the word ease. I think that's a really nice one, actually. That's a really nice one that you could take forward. And I think also maybe Sage is like to focus on how you want to feel, how you want to feel, do you want to be all stressed, whatever at the end, or do you want to be at peace or ease or in the flow? And that might be another way of embodying it more. How do I want to feel?
I'd agree with those.
So I'm just wondering if anybody has any thoughts, if they want to share them. So let's see, they want, Catherine said, yeah, hard work ingrained in me, would love to be more comfortable not doing, at ease. Surrender and let go. Okay, thank you. Surrender and let go. That's beautiful, yeah. Simplicity. Wow, that's nice.
Surrender was the word I had a year or two ago.
Stillness, lovely.
Yes.
Connection, joy, beautiful. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Flow. Yeah. Gorgeous. Yeah, really nice.
There's something further I want to say. So trust, that's another one that's good. With this word for the year, what you want to do, imagine you, if you wear spectacles or sunglasses, you want to be putting that word on at regular intervals. Try and aim for once a day at least. And you want to go, it's almost like you'd kind of pause yourself and just recenter yourself with that word. So if it's ease, how can I feel or bring more ease into this? Because what you're trying to do is start to rewire your thinking.
Yes. Yes.
If you've conditioned yourself to behave and respond in a certain way, you're not going to do it overnight perfectly. So we're kind to ourselves. I did not do ease perfectly from day one. It took me a lot because it was at that point, what, 30 odd years, 35 years of behaving in a certain way, of conditioned upbringing. Whereas I would find myself taking the hard path and I'd go, this doesn't feel good. I'll pause. And then I'd literally try and, in that moment, either with tapping or if it was accessible without, I'd feel into a state of ease. And then what's my next decision? So do you see what I'm saying? You wear it like a pair of spectacles, but it's it's almost like a filter over your heart that you want to introduce this, to nourish yourself with it. And you go, how does it feel to bring more simplicity, more joy? And it's also a grounded way of doing it, because we can get so carried away of, oh, well, look, this is joy and this is happiness and this is, but when you bring it to the heart, you want that grounding effect.
Beautiful. So could we maybe finish, Sejal, I don't know whether we could do a little tapping on this. Would you be happy to lead it? Just a tapping on, and maybe just incorporate all these beautiful words, maybe that people have used, or your own words, and just a short little thing to finish us off here this evening. Yeah.
I would love to. I've got something that is so simple, but it's incredibly effective. So there's something within EFT called touch and breathe. I sometimes, for a positive effect, include color. So this is to include any word that you might, or those listening might have chosen. And if you haven't, not to worry. What I'd like you to do is intend that part of you knows your word. So either cognitively you do know, or part of you somehow knows, even if you're not decided on it right now. With that intention, find a color that you like, any color that you choose to enjoy. And all I'm going to do is take you through talking about color and touch and breathe at each of the EFT points. I'll call them out. You don't have to say anything out loud. You can have your eyes closed or open. And all I'm going to invite you to do is hear me and breathe in and out. How does that sound for instructions?
That sounds wonderful. Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
Good. So I'm giving everyone another few seconds just to choose a color. And if you've got a word, fantastic. If not, let yourself know a part of you, the wiser part of you knows somehow, and you'll get there. And when you're ready, I want you to just easily in your lap hold the side of your hand, and you can relax. And imagine you've got your favorite color that you have chosen surrounding you. And you're going to very shortly breathe in and out. I'm going to the top of your head. Just breathing this color to do with your word in and out. Taking a couple of fingers to the beginning of an eyebrow, breathing your word and colour in and out. Side of the eye, bringing this colour and the word in and out. Under the eye, being with this colour and word in and out. Under the nose, relaxing into this colour and my word. Breathe in and out. Middle of the chin. Deepening into this colour and my word. Breathe in and out. Collarbone. Easing in to my colour and my word. Breathe in and out. Under the arm. Immersing myself into this colour and my word. Breathe in and out. Please rest your hands. Just give yourself some moments. You're welcome to come back whenever you feel ready.
That was beautiful, Sejual. Thank you so much. That was really lovely and really nourishing and nurturing and very soft, very easy. So yeah, some people want to pop into messages there how they found that. That was really lovely. Thank you. And
I love that
just
exercise. Even I kind of feel that energy grow. I've done
yes.
this with women at a women's shelter where they understandably have very distressing problems and finish the end of the session and they walk out as if they're walking on air.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, yeah, gorgeous, yeah, divine, beautiful, lovely, yeah, yeah, very calming and soothing, 100%. Gorgeous, yeah. So Sejual, thank you so much. And just to say, Sejual's website is Healthy in Mind, and Sejual has lovely that soothing and grounding. Thank you, Bess. Very soothing, lovely. And Sejual is running a course for delivering EFT in groups starting tomorrow. I know that's late notice, but if anybody, Orla's going to pop it in the chat box there. And but anyway, I'm sure you can contact and see it on our website. Oh, there you go. Boosting successful groups. So thank you so much, Sejual. Thank you to everybody for coming here this evening. It was really great to have you all here. And yes, thank you. Really heartfelt thanks to Sejual and heartfelt thanks to everybody for being here today, because I think it's so important that we do whatever it is to raise our vibrations. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I love spending time with you And
yeah.
this was a fantastic group. Thank you. I know
Yeah.
you were all on mute, but you were sharing with what you were sharing in the chat, and you were sharing in other ways. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
So lovely. Thank you.